Crusader Kings III, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and Rimworld. 3 completely different games, the same reason for buying each one. A 2-hour undistracted session that's not actually turned up yet. Take CK3, get into it properly, and you're weighing titles, council loyalty, and whether a vassal is quietly building a claim, not a 20-minute distraction. Same story with the other 2, different specifics. Somewhere, you already know which one is sitting in your library right now, still waiting for that session. This is a familiar purchase by adult gamers, something that promises real depth, bought for a stretch of time that does not exist yet. This video does not dwell on what happens once it is sitting and played. That ground is well covered. It goes one step earlier, to the moment it goes in the cart, and the question worth asking honestly, before the purchase rather than after the stall. Take any of these 3 games and the same shape shows up. Real depth, real reward, and a session cost that doesn't announce itself until you're already committed. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a long, demanding historical RPG. Uncompromising. The kind of game that rewards patience and does not tolerate shortcuts. The opening hours are deliberately slow. The story unfolds gently, walking rather than sprinting into itself. At one point, actual credits roll partway through, as if to mark the real beginning once the setup is done. Conversation carries much of the game too. Winning someone over takes patience, working through the options with each person rather than skipping to the fastest line. Even the menu carries a re-entry risk. New game sits right next to load game, and more than one returning player has meant to pick up an old save and hit new game instead, losing weeks of progress by mistake. This is a switched-on game in the truest sense, not because it is hard, but because if you're half distracted, you risk missing the nuance and detail that makes it work. Crusader Kings III does the same thing, but differently. Open a save, and the map is already covered in courtiers, holdings, and relationships you're supposed to be managing before you've done anything. Even the tutorial doesn't really ease you in. It just underlines how much there is to juggle at once. Getting properly going with it is genuinely overwhelming if all you have is a short or distracted session. And that's not a criticism. It's just what the game is. Stay with it long enough, and it becomes unlike almost anything else running today. It is also rarely just the box price. The expansions most long-term players end up adding add up to real money over time. So the purchase itself keeps happening long after the first one. In the first few sessions, most of that time is orientation, learning the map of people and the consequences you are now responsible for. Both of these games, though, are genuine recommendations, and the pull towards them is specific. If you grew up on Civilization, on UFO Enemy Unknown, on Transport Tycoon, games built around deep systems that got better the longer you stayed, then Crusader Kings III and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will feel familiar. That pull hasn't gone anywhere. These games are just one place it still lives, but not the only one. The problem is not the impulse. It is what these games actually require from a session. Crusader Kings III is a weekend start game. Not because it is slow, but because the first useful session after a break is partly spent rebuilding the picture. Who your rivals are, what you are planning, what is about to go wrong if you do not act. The deeper into a game you are, the longer that rebuilding takes, and the longer the session needs to be before you're actually playing rather than just remembering. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 asks for something similar at the start. That slow opening isn't a 15-minute dip. It wants a proper run before anything settles. Rimworld makes the same problem hardest to ignore, even though it is trickier to pin down than the other 2. Simpler on its face, with no dynasties or dialogue trees to track, but it demands the same kind of patient, logical thinking, building up knowledge and resources before you can actually expand what the colony is capable of. People buy it knowing exactly what it is. A colony sim with a steep learning curve and a payoff that rewards staying with it. It is a genuinely good fit for someone who can return to the same colony every few days. It is a much rougher fit for someone whose sessions arrive in a scattered, unpredictable bursts. Every gap is a small relearning tax, and those taxes add up faster than the colony does. This is not a failure of will, it is a failure of the question that was not asked. The question worth asking before purchase is not, is this a good game? The reviews already answered that. It is, what does this game actually need from a session? And do sessions like that exist in the next few weeks? It's not, I'll have more time soon. That is a feeling, not a date. There is a test for this already sitting in your library. Find the last game in this genre that has gone untouched for 3 months despite good intentions. If the last Rimworld colony is still parked a few hours in, barely past the opening, buying Crusader Kings III today it's probably not buying a game. It is buying the idea of a free weekend that has not turned up yet. But that does not mean don't buy it. It means buying it as one of three things, on purpose. Something to play now, something deliberately parked for a specific window that already has a name, 2 weeks off in August, the quiet stretch after Christmas, or it's something left in the wish list until one of those windows gets closer. A 70% discount changes the price. It does not change which of those three this is. So the games sitting unfinished a few hours in are not bad decisions. They are decisions made for conditions that have not arrived yet, and usually decisions made without checking how close those conditions actually were. Each of these three games is answering a slightly different question. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is for when slow immersion is what a session is actually for, not quick progress. Crusader Kings III is for when there is a proper opening run available. The first session sets the shape of everything after. And Rimworld is for when the same colony can be returned to regularly, not just once. The next purchase can have that question in the room before checkout. Not smaller ambitions, just an honest answer to when this game actually gets played, and whether that time exists yet. Aspirational was never the problem. Not asking the right question was.